Have you ever thought of working in tech sales? You probably got into tech sales as an SDR or even a BDR, but you feel stuck? Meet Kendall. Kendall was able to transition into the industry and scale to being an account executive. He comes sharing his experiences on how he was able to transition not only into a BDR role, but scale into an AE role in an industry that he is flourishing in. Join us as we have a conversation, learning more about how he transitioned into the tech industry and what plans he has for the future. But if you find any value from this content, go ahead and like, comment, and subscribe as it helps the channel. Now, let's dive into the conversation. So, Kendall, where did you start your tech sales career?
Yeah, so I guess a little bit about me, right? So I'm from down south, from Birmingham, Alabama. Um, so my real background is in accounting. I went to Tuskegee University. I played football there. So I was on scholarship, played there for 4 years. So fresh out of college, I went into accounting. So that led me to move to Nashville for a few years. So in the accounting space, I worked in cash and banking, fixed assets, P2P, procurement to pay, accounts payable. My last role I did while I was in accounting, I was a general ledger accountant for actually a year and a half. And then from that point on, I started a third party logistics business in the trucking industry. Then after that step, I moved into becoming a BDR for a health tech company, and that led me to where I'm at now as a SMBA. So
What was your journey like becoming a BDR?
yeah, so I think I kind of learned backwards from everybody else. So typically, you learn about the SDR, BDR, then work your way up AE, account manager, CSM, then like sales engineer. Well, I got introduced to the SE side first, so of course everybody knows Cyrus. Saw some of his videos and dove deep into that. So I did a boot camp. That was a 10-week boot camp. So it was pretty tough, right? I don't have any. My background is accounting, so it's not engineering and it's not tech at all. So I did that boot camp. I'm like, I don't want to be an account executive. Started applying to account executives. I wasn't really getting any interviews. So I was like, dang, let me go apply for the BDRs. So I got a few stats here. So I put in 582 applications for SEs. I got 2 interviews that went nowhere. You feel me? So then I just turned my head. In 41 days, I did 664 apps for a BDR. And in that 41-day time period, I had like 25 interviews or so. But I accepted my offer in that 21 days. So like on September the 27th, I had my first interview with the company. And then I accepted my offer on October the 3rd. So that's like a week and a half, right? So it was a long road. I had to work my way backwards, but that's how I found my way to become a BDR.
What was your strategy in starting your career as a BDR?
I did my due diligence, so I really understood the role. But also my previous business that I had, I did those same skills, but just didn't have a name for it. All right, when you gotta look for your own, you gotta look for your customers. Yeah, you gotta look for your customers, right? The people that I serve. And then from that point, I gotta look for business for them, right? So prospecting, inbound and outbound and cold leads, warm leads, things like that. So I had the skill set, I didn't know. And then when I understood what BDRs, SDRs did, I did more research and it pretty much matched up.
Can you share more about the BDR or SDR window and what it means in career progression?
Yeah, so for me, my plan has always been to get to an SE or SC, so sales engineer. And just from my research, watching a lot of interviews and recruiters and higher ups, I knew that there was like a year to year and a half window to where you can get kind of lost if you don't really have a plan. As far as trying to move out of the seat from BDR. So typically, I understood going from BDR to SE is kind of tricky. So I set my sights to become, we call them RSMs, but basically an account executive, right? So in my interview process, I'm asking like, what are the things I need to do on a month-to-month basis, weekly basis, on a quarter basis? What is the quickest I can get there? What's the average, the typical average? So I can try to measure myself up. So yeah, it was pretty much planned out. Not to say planned out, but they told me exactly what I needed to do. So they helped me out as far as having a mindset, not going in being complacent, like being happy to be there. I'm not just trying to be happy to be there. I'm trying to keep growing.
What were some of the highs and lows you experienced as a BDR?
Yeah, so I can speak about the lows first. Typically you want to go to the highs, but I can speak about the lows. So when I first started, I'm transitioning, right? So transitioning industries, never been in this, then also juggling different jobs, you know what I'm saying? So when I'm first starting, you getting hit with the fire hose. So I'm coming into a new industry, which is tech, a new industry, which is sales, a new industry, which is healthcare. I know nothing about neither one of them, right? So how I'm saying, you coming in, you need to get a fast start. That was a low for me because I didn't get as fast of a start as I wanted to. Especially being an athlete, you're not trying to be riding the bench. You ain't third string. You're trying to be first string or at the very least second string. So dealing with that in the first 2 quarters, I didn't understand how tech companies really operate on quarters at that time either. So those were some lows for me, but I would say my highs as a BDR, I got to go to an event in Nashville. So we are set up ARSM, RSM, then strategic accounts. So this
Why did you transition from your BDR role to an AE position at another company, despite having a predetermined growth plan?
This helped me be more personable when I'm talking to people on the phone, right? Typically on the phone, we talking to people with 30, 40 employees, 100 employees. These people here, 5, 10K employees, 1,000 locations. I'm talking to CEOs, CTOs, CIOs, VPs, directors, and they just regular people, right? So we talking person to person, and then we get to talk about their locations and what they need. So that really helped me. I think that was the turning point in my career to learn how to be personable, enter these conversations and have conversations just as a regular person. Yeah, so I know every company is pretty different when it comes to the metrics you have to hit. Sometimes it's a certain time frame, sometimes it's measured from year to date. So a whole time from the beginning of the year to the end of the year. It could be just the past 2 quarters, the past 3 quarters, whatever that is. And if you don't come in and have a hot start, it's really hard to make that grind up on the back end, right? So you can get kind of stuck if you're not hitting your numbers consistently or early enough on the back end. It's really hard to get there, especially if you start to understand like Q3s and Q4s business, especially in Q4. If you're trying to make up Q1 and Q4, you're kind of in the no man's zone, right? So just understanding you need to come in and prove yourself, have those numbers, and give yourself some runway, so as to you can. And then also, if you don't have those numbers and you're talking to leadership, they understand you're a good player. You know what I'm saying? You have a good internal brand that can help you out too. But if you're not hitting your numbers, you're not close, you're trying to make it up, you're gonna be in a sticky situation. The more that I started to learn about, so I was at a smaller company, right? So I was at a Series B company. This is a bigger mid-size level company. So my trajectory in my first company, it was more so to go from BDR to RSM, to ARSM, then RSM. So it was more so to stay in that selling side, on the account executive side. There wasn't a real path into going into the sales engineering side. And then also, what I did finally realize, it is very important to understand which industry you're going into, no matter what sales role it is. Right? So for me, I'm switching over. I'm taking a chance. They gave me an offer. I'm like, I'm gonna come in, bet on myself, better my skills, have my numbers show, and then I can start being more picky, So it got to that point. I understood that the health industry wasn't really for me. It wasn't interesting. That wasn't something that I wanted to talk about all the time, dive deeper into, and that's just being honest with myself. So I saw Pluralsight. My family are educators, so everybody in my family. So that's that's what. So I saw the company I'm currently with. They are an upskilling platform, and that resonated with me because my whole family is in education, from my parents to my brothers and sisters, to my uncles, to my grandparents. So I really resonated with that, and I knew that that's something that I would love to dive deeper into, especially since we educate like IT and engineering departments. We're educating them on AI, cybersecurity, data, dev, ops, machine learning. So everything that's going on in the space, it just looked to be very interesting for me.
How did you secure an account executive role without prior closing experience?
This is why I started learning about the different segments of account executive. All right, so I didn't know about mid-market. I didn't know about regular corporate, enterprise, and strat. So I'm actually an SMB account executive. So it's on a smaller scale. So typically for them, they like to promote from within. So everybody here has been mainly started from the bottom, worked up. For this particular team, they had like 6 promotions at the same time. So they brought up some BDRs, but the other BDRs are still pretty new, so they had to backfill outside. So typically they like to fill this role with BDRs. They understand that we don't have that closing experience, but what set me apart in my interview was, like I said, I was included on my AE's deals in my previous company, right? So at least I had firsthand visual experience from the reach out to the demo and to the discovery to the entire sales process. I was involved. I was giving my input with them, even though it was their deal. So I was able to get that across to them, in my interviews, and show them that even though I haven't done it, I have the experience, or I have some knowledge somewhere. I'm not starting from a blank slate. And secondly, they like BDRs to come into this position because they understand, right? It's typically how they do it anyway.
Aside from the industry you were in, what other factors attracted you to your new company?
Yeah, so one thing that I found out was we work with over 70% of the Fortune 500 companies. So we are a pretty big player in our market. Of course, we have competitors, but we have a few unique competitive advantages, right? So, and then at the same time, I understood the difference from working at a smaller company. You're reaching out to people. It's harder to get people on the phone, so to speak, versus when you have not a big brand like like Facebook or something, or Meta, but a big enough brand to where you are well respected in that area. It makes your day-to-day life a lot better, right? But also I did some research into a lot of the people that's been at the company. Everybody on LinkedIn has been there like no less than 3 to 4 years. So I'm saying people has been there 8, 9, 10 years, or even in the 4-year span, they've been at 5, 6 different roles. So they really promote they promote from within, and they give you the ability to go to different teams, go up, vertically, try different things. But a lot of people has been there for a long time. Even the people that was there for a while, they left and they came back. So the biggest thing on that point was opportunity of growth, right? They're not just saying it, you can actually see it on people's profiles. So to me, it's like social proof,
What are some of the perks you enjoyed working in the tech industry? And how do the benefits of being an AE compare to those of a BDR?
As a BDR, it really gives you the skill to really understand really the entire breakdown of a company, right? Because you have some SEs that never were AEs, you have some AEs that never were BDRs. So the skills that you build at each level is vital because you have, I would say, a competitive advantage to everyone else. But from the BDR skills, learning how to look at a company, process data, seeing who to reach out to and why, and once you do reach out to them, learning how to present them with, how you say add value. You're coming to them for a reason. You know how to present that, but you also understand how to research these companies, learn how to speak the languages, learn how to speak from the CEO to the VPs down to the directors or the facility managers, right? So you're understanding different languages, but also, especially as a BDR, understanding how businesses operate across the world, right? Understanding how they operate from a fiscal year, from quarterly to biannually, just these business terms that you must be comfortable with when speaking to these people. But once it comes to the account executive side, it's more so understanding how to get them from initial interest. So, okay, what are your business objectives? What are your initiatives? What things are you lacking in? What things are you looking to get better in? How can we increase everything from the team as a whole, to the leadership as a whole, to the employees as a whole, right? And then getting that to the close, understanding return on investments, understanding upskilling, just understanding business and company health, and how to position yourself as an expert and an advisor to lead them through rough patches, or just if they just have curiosity.
Financially, do you believe transitioning into tech was the right decision for you?
I'm not gonna say any numbers, but when I was an accountant, right, this will really put in perspective for me. So understanding the potential financial gain being in this industry, so year after year, from year 1 to 2 to 3, I was there as an accountant for 1 year, and my raise was $1,800 from 1 year. So that's $1,800 total on my salary. So what is that, about $5-6 extra on your check? So once I understood that, and I pitted that against this industry, I understand how much you can make as a BDR. Or when you use jump roles, whether it's from a BDR to a senior BDR, or just a BDR to just another BDR, the fact you have that salary, you have that commission, it's just a lot. It's a lot more interesting, you know. You're not capped on your earnings, so to speak. So,
what advice would you give to someone who feels stuck in their SDR or BDR role?
I would say look at yourself first, so self-accountability, because there are reasons for moving companies, but you have to understand, be truthful and be honest. Why am I leaving? Is it because did I pick the wrong company, we don't have that growth, or did I have to leave because we downsizing, or am I leaving because I didn't build a great internal brand, so now me trying to move up, you don't have the backing, right? Am I in a great thriving company? So I would say first look at that first. But then also be very cautious of your numbers, right? If you know you want to become an SE or go an AE or move up, start talking to them, shadow them. So one thing I did with my RSMs, I built relationships with them. So they invited me on their demos. I was a part of their pitching, their demoing, understanding their deals, their opportunities. So my mindset is like an AE as well. So for me, if this is where I want to get to, I have to do what I need to do no matter what to hit my numbers and vocalize myself to management. This is where I want to get, and go that way. So no, don't just be there, be happy to be there, try to be the standout, try to learn more, right? Because it is a tough job, man. So some companies you got to make 100, 120, 150 dollars a day, or a lot of emails, whatever that is. But I just say you just have to put in your heart that I'm going to do this one time for this finite period of time, and whatever period you set, try to get past that quicker. You know what I'm saying? Set a quicker date in your head. That's pretty much. You got to put yourself you got to put a sense of urgency on yourself to get out. They're not going to sit there and just baby you, because this is tech sales. Everything is on you, right? They have the help for you, but if you're not putting yourself in position to make those moves, then you follow your own sword.
Would you recommend others pursue a career in the SDR BDR role?
Yeah, so I would encourage somebody, right? Because even for myself, I didn't want to do it, right? But first and foremost, do your own research. Like, you can see everything online. Your homie can tell you, your parent, somebody you may know, but you need to do your own due diligence. One of my managers told me as a BDR that a lot of people don't necessarily fully grasp the day-to-day responsibility. So really do your due diligence and understand you're going to have 9 to 12 to 15 months of really grinding. But if you understand the light at the end of that tunnel, it gets 1,000 times better. That's possible. For me, I done already doubled my previous salary in, let's say, It's been 14 months. So I doubled my previous accounting salary in 14 months. I grinded for 10 months. Of course, I had to leave. I wanted to stay in and grow within the company, but I had to leave. And that account executive position, I've doubled that salary, right? So it's at the end of the tunnel, it's greater rewards than what you're doing now. If you're feeling stuck, you have nothing to lose. You can always go back, right? Once you build a skill, you can always go back to it. So it's nothing but positivity in my eyes.
And that was it. Thank you so much for joining us on this episode of Tech Niche Tips. And don't forget to subscribe and hit the bell notification. Whenever new content drops, you'll be the first to know. Here are a few other videos that I believe you will find to be valuable. And until next time, I hope to see you on the other side.